Honourable David Kunda.
Mr Speaker, only somebody who actually owns their own home could say what the previous National Speaker said, which is that, quote, ownership doesn't matter. Well, it sure as heck it does if you're renting, or even worse, if you can't get a place to rent. I used to own a house. Now I rent a house. I dug the garden. I planted vegetables. I got it looking great. And then the owner said, hey, it's looking so good, I think I'll auction it. And I was packing up and down the road before I could say Jack Robinson. And I haven't got kids in the local school who were disrupted by that, but plenty of families have. There is nothing more important to the Kiwi dream than home ownership. There is nothing more important to the stability of families and the learning of children than having a safe, secure roof over your head. And in all of New Zealand's history, since Michael Joseph Savage in 1935, the state has had a role to provide public housing. Until this ideological, wayward government started dismantling, brick by brick, frame by frame, one of New Zealand's most precious assets, its state housing stock. And here we are today, sir, to confer draconian, sweeping powers on ministers to do lightning deals with Gold Coast developers to flog off New Zealand's state housing stock. What are they so scared of? Why don't they want the normal processes of accountability and transparency? Why don't they want to go through the full rigour of parliamentary scrutiny? What dirty little deals have that crooked lot got cooked up with those developers?
Order. Now, I think the tone of the members' comments are now in breach of convention of the House, and I'll ask him to take more care.
Mr Speaker, I will take more care, and I apologise if I'm a little bit head up about this, because I am the MP for an area that this summer has witnessed homelessness in public parks. And only yesterday I was walking around an area where the so-called rough sleepers of New Lynn have recently vacated, and it's recently been cleaned. And the community brought down blankets and food, and local community agencies and state services have belatedly got together and placed those vulnerable people in at least temporary accommodation. But there is no place in this beautiful country for homelessness. Bad luck, bad stuff can happen to anybody, whether they are a distinguished member of Parliament, somebody who comes from a well-to-do business background, bad luck, ill health, family breakdown, anything can happen. And members opposite would do well to remember that when bad luck strikes, the helping hand of the state to get people back on their feet and back into productive employment and secure living is absolutely crucial. So, Mr Speaker, I abhor this bill. I abhor this bill that destroys the Kiwi dream. The Kiwi dream of home ownership, of working hard, playing by the rules, getting ahead and providing for your family, because it is impossible to do that if you do not have a secure, predictable roof over your head. We have some $20 billion of housing stock owned by the state in this country, or we did have before that lot started running it down. This bill confers on ministers the power to sell off hundreds of millions, indeed billions of dollars of assets that previous generation of Kiwi taxpayers paid for. And with sleight of hand, beyond the normal parliamentary accountability. This bill is a travesty. It's a dog, it's a crock, it is just plain wrong. And I say this to members opposite. The public of New Zealand will have their say in 2017 because they've had just about enough of government by spin, being told that everything's rosy when patently the gaps are getting wider and wider, and it seems suddenly to be acceptable to have rough sleepers fending for themselves in the rain in the bush of a major urban centre. It's not okay, Mr Speaker, and we need our emergency housing stock, we need our social housing stock preserved and built up to give the next generation of New Zealanders a safety net to bounce back off. Mr Speaker, the government says it's got $2 million to spend on emergency housing Auckland-wide. What are they planning to do? Buy one bed sit in Ponsonby or 2 garages? Or are they going to buy tents and distribute them around Auckland? Mr. Speaker, that's how crazy this government is, how bankrupt of ideas, how questionable of motive, how ridiculous this bill.